Hello and welcome back. In our last video, we saw how to use if statements with tests in our bash scripts. In this video, we'll see how to learn a new concept, the for loop. When we want to run a repeated set of actions or commands a set number of times, we can use a for loop. Let's see one in the terminal to learn the syntax. So we're going to just print the numbers 1 through 10 to the screen. So I'm going to say for I in, and now I'll have curly brackets. I'll put my starting value 1, dot, dot, my ending value 10, semicolon, do. I'll click enter, and now I'll say what the for loop should do. The for loop should echo I. And now I'll indicate that I want the for loop to end. The for loop is done, so I'll write done. And when I do this, look at this, we get the numbers 1 through 10. So first, note here that while I use the variable I can pick any variable that I want in the for loop, as it's a temporary variable. Next, in this for loop, we indicate the number of times to run the for loop based off of the information that we pass here inside of our curly brackets. The starting value, the ending value, separated by 2 periods. Lastly, we have do and done, similar to the way with our if statements we had then and fee. So let's change this a bit. So I'm going to now do another loop. We'll say for num in, and we'll do, I don't know, 58 dot dot do 100. Semicolon do, and let's echo num. And so if you look here, I changed the temporary variable. It still works. We changed our starting and ending indices, and it still works. So same idea, just different results here. So nice. Oh, clear. We can also loop through multiple elements by just simply listing the multiple elements. For example, I could say for letter in A, B, C, D, E. Do. Let's just echo the letter. Done. And so we went through and looped through this this list of elements, A, B, C, D, and E, and we've printed each of them. We could actually use this idea to loop through all of the files in a directory. And so if you look here, I've got all of these files in the directory. We saw previously that there's the asterisk symbol, the wildcard symbol, will allow us to look for all of the files that are in a current directory. So let's create a variable. We'll call it files, and we'll set it equal to our asterisks. And so if I echo $files, look at that. We get essentially a list. Just like I have a list here of elements, A, B, C, D, and E, I have a list of elements here which consist of all of the files in my current directory. And so I should be able to loop through this. So I could say for F in $files, do echo F. And then I'll say done. And so now there we have it. I've looped through and echoed all of those files. Perfect. Let's use this idea and try to write a script around it. And so this script is going to use the touch command to update the last time a file was maybe modified. So right now, if I look at ls-tech-l, you can see the last time the addition.log file was updated. It was updated on January 8th at 5:48. Right now it's 6:31. If I want to update this timestamp, I can simply just call touch addition.log, and we've seen how the touch command can be used to create files that don't exist. If the file does exist, what it will do, it will just update the timestamp, the date and time. And so this is a nice little way that we can do that. So let's write a script that's going to touch all of the files in a directory. So we're going to move to our scripts folder, and let's call nano, and we'll call this script touch file. So I'll start with my shebang operator, and I'll give my interpreter bin/bash. And now I'll put a comment, touch all the files in a given directory and update their timestamp. Okay. So the first thing that I want to do, just like we did in our last example, I'm going to create a variable called files and set it equal to all of the files in a directory. Now, if I do this, right, if I have just the wildcard symbol, it's going to look at the files in whatever directory this script lies in. I don't necessarily want this because we're going to move this to the user local bin directory, and I don't want to look at those files. I want to look at the files of whatever directory I'm currently in. Well, that information is stored in an environment variable, pwd, so we're going to reference that. We'll do parameter expansion, and I'm going to put this inside of double quotes so that any unwanted special characters kind of don't mess me up here. And then I'm going to do slash, and now I'll call the wildcard symbol to look at all of the files that are in this current directory. Let's look at this for a second. Let's see what happens if I do, just to hammer home this point, if I do echo files, and I do echo files in quotes, right? Because we've kind of been doing a little bit of both here. Sometimes we put our parameter expansion inside double quotes, sometimes we don't. And so our first one will be just regular parameter expansion. Our second call will be parameter expansion inside quotes. So I'm going to change the permission, so chmod plus x touch file, and let's call this touch file. And so if you look here, when we ran this the first time without the double quotes, it looks like it listed all of the files here. And let me just make a file. Let me touch file 1, touch file 2, touch file 3. So now we've got some more files. If you look, when I just do parameter expansion on the variable files, it's giving me all 4 file locations, all 4 paths. But when I use double quotes, if you look, it's just giving me my current working directory and then the asterisks. And so let's go back to our file and maybe talk about why. You may already see this, but if you don't, it's good to give you a little bit of extra clarification on this. See, the double quotes, we said, treats all special characters as ordinary characters except for the $ and the backslash. So when we look here, and I have parameter expansion for files, we expand files, so we look at the value, and so we see, hey, we then expand pwd, so we get our working directory, but then the asterisk is just treated as an ordinary character, and so that's why it's not being treated as the wildcard symbol. And so when we do this here, we want to make sure that we do not put double quotes around this parameter expansion. It's going to give us a mistake. And so maybe I'll put a comment here just to clarify that. We'll say double quotes allows for the expansion of the $, but not the asterisks. Therefore, we shouldn't use double quotes here. And I'll just comment these lines out too. So again, we're just solidifying our understanding. So now that I have my variable files, which is listing all of the contents of this directory, I'm going to loop through that. So I'll say for f in $ files. We're not going to use double quotes because we want to expand the wildcard symbol. Say do, and then we're going to tab in just like we did with our if statements, and we're just going to touch F. Perfect. And then we'll say done. And I think that's it. It's a really simple script, but it should work nicely. So I'm going to hit close X. We'll save this, write it to touch file. Right now, if I do an ls-tech-l, I see that these files were last touched at 6:34. If I call touch file and do an ls-tech-l, we have updated all of their timestamps. Hey, pretty good. Let's move this. So we'll do sudo move touch file to user local bin. Okay. And let's go to a different directory. Let's cd out of here. ls-tech-l. All right, so if I look here in my root direct or my home directory, some of these were last touched on like yesterday, January 7th. So let's call touch file on this directory and see what happens. So I'll do just touch file right here. If I type ls-tech-l, we should update all of the timestamps, and we did. So that's kind of nice. Perfect. Another script in the book, another concept in the book. So now I think we have a beginning understanding of for loops. I will see you in the next video. But before I do, sorry about that. Why don't I go clean up my scripts folder? I realize I have some files that I don't want here. So I'm going to remove file star, and they're all gone. So now I think we're good, and I will see you in the next video.